And especially we're going to start with the arms up above. We'll do some reaching like that. So just check that you have some space up above you to take your arms onto the ground. But we always start with a wee bit of a check-in. So that check-in can be done with legs long or feet on the mat. So any position that feels comfortable, and just to have a little moment with tiny wiggles or complete stillness, and just having kind of like a little walk through with your attention, with your breath, through the sense of the body, the felt sense of this moment. Just a couple of more rounds of breath, bringing awareness to the places where the body meets the ground. Maybe sensing, so a good indicator of where we are kind of holding away from the ground. That means that we're not kind of fully able to relax or trust. So just coaxing a little bit more ease into the shoulders as the shoulder blades are dropping more into the ground. And then if your feet have been on the mat, for the first exercises, we're going to have the legs straight, and you can, once we start to do the little movement, just see how wide they want to be. So I usually have them a wee bit wider than the hips, and I'll take the arms up as well, and similar thing here, having them perhaps a wee bit wider than the shoulders, or in such a way that the shoulders feel relaxed. And we'll feel into the right side first. So I feel my right fingertips, I feel my right heel, my right foot, and I'm going to start to slide the fingertips and the foot away from each other. So the right side of the body is beginning to lengthen. See how your body can find and organize that movement. So there's like a right side of the body is taking a yawn. And you could also take an inhale to feel that length that you've created, and then slowly releasing that action, which might just mean that your elbow bends a little bit and the leg relaxes. And we'll do the right side a couple of times. So do this now on your own. I suggest slowing down, noticing whatever else wants to move. So for example, my head often likes to roll away from that side, but see what wants to happen in your body. And then another thing that we play with here is differentiating or playing with either moving from the fingertips and the heel is one way how we can initiate the movement. And then the other way to play with is moving from your center. So imagining that you're lengthening outward from your waistline, where the right hip slides down a little bit and the rib cage slides upward a little bit. It might be, for some bodies, that might be harder to find. So you see, I sometimes bring my left hand to my midsection, and I kind of really feel that movement there. This doesn't have to be perfect, and just play around for maybe one more round on that right side. And then coming to a rest, so maybe even bringing both arms down for a moment and noticing the difference. If you're still moving, feel free to keep going with the movement a bit longer. And then in your own time, same thing, same simple yawning movement for the left side. So you can bring both arms back up, or you could just bring the left arm up. The first rounds kind of without trying to control it too much. Just see how your body would make this this movement, to fulfill this command of lengthening through the left side. And then after a couple of repetitions, it might be interesting if you orient it like that. You might be interesting in playing around with the movement and playing like what changes if I change the initiation point, moving from my extremities or moving from my center. Play with that if that is interesting to you. I'll do a couple of more rounds. This can be sometimes, this is my lazy go-to sometimes when I don't feel like moving, and I'll start with this to get some stickiness out of my body, and also sometimes that stickiness is in my mind as well. And then we take a little pause again just to reflect, to notice, to come to the sensory awareness, right side and left side. And then lastly, I'll get long by reaching all of my four limbs. So I'll take the arms back up again. Again, as I said, legs can be wider or closer. And I'll reach the heels upward, heels downward, fingertips upward. I might arch my lower back and puff my ribs out a little bit. I'll take a nice breath in. And then I begin to bend the knees, bend the elbows, beginning to bring my knees to my chest, and I slide the feet as long as I can, wrapping my arms around. So now I'm curling in so the front body gets short. You might even bring your head, your nose between your knees to really let the whole back body now lengthen and the front body curl up. And then slowly we'll repeat that one more time. So you're going to bring your limbs back to ground and gravity and letting them slide away, and then lengthen and reach. So you're like this big human X. You take a breath. You might feel the back body is arching and contracting. Front body is broadening and opening in your own time. Curl in your own way. Curl one more time. Knees to chest. Hugging it in, maybe head lifts, curling, curling, curling. Nice. And then bringing it back to the ground. And we'll come back to legs long, arms up. So we did the side movement, now we do across the body. We bring the left hand first to your chest, and then the left hand begins to slide across the chest along that right arm. So the left hand is leading. And then let it lead and pull or draw your body over to the right side. Both set of my toes are going to point to the right. And I'll keep reaching. So I feel this like a diagonal across the body. I take a breath in. And then you could either slide the hand back the same pathway, or it could make a circle around you. So the left arm initiated the movement, the turn, the reach. And we'll do just one more. So now you know where we're going, so you can start to experiment on your own. I still keep my legs quite heavy. The body, I let it respond to this movement of my left arm reaching. I bring breath into this space that I've created, into this shape and form that I've created, and then a slow release, either same pathway back or the arm could circle around. Take a moment once you're on your back, and then you do 2 repetitions with the right arm initiating, the right arm beginning to reach. The shoulder curls away, the spine begins to turn, the hips begin to turn, the feet turn. You lie on your left side, you reach, you breathe, and then you find your way back. So different ways of these human X movements. There's different ways to play with this. What are some of the connections and pathways that you can sense in the body? And once you've done twice on that right side, again a little pause. And then, as you might have guessed, we do the same with now legs initiating. So the left leg starting to lift, move across the right, and then reaching into the space to the right. And if you don't have space, bend the knee, or if you feel like your lower back maybe prefers, you could also bend the knee, or reaching the straight leg across any amount, keeping that left arm and shoulder heavy. Quite big movement, so taking a breath in and then letting the leg begin to move back, slide back, releasing its weight into the ground, maybe a little wiggle. And then we'll do the same thing again, just one time, left leg. Either straight or bend the knee if that works best, or your space requires that, or just you want to alternate bending, straightening. Where is the ease here, even if we are intentionally creating some tension across these diagonal spiraling lines in the body? How can I add some ease? And then returning. And then 2 with the right leg. So I wanted to find your own pace. I don't want to dictate the pace too much. Add a little bit of curiosity and playfulness. So 2 movements with the right leg leading. Feeling the tension and also finding the ease. And then once you've done, again, the 2 on the right side, no rush, just a little moment, glimpse of pausing. And then let's slide the feet onto the mat. You can bring the arms back as well. And then a couple of times press the lower back onto the mat. That's your exhale. Arch the lower back away from the ground. That's your inhale. So the pelvic rock movement. Exhaling, flattening, letting lower back broaden, and then arching. Bring the hands behind your head so that next time when you press, locking the hands behind the head, next time when you press the lower back, when you arch the lower back away from the ground, press the backs of the elbows a little bit onto the ground, or maybe even feel your shoulder blades coming towards each other on the ground. So again, the back body contracts and the front body opens and broadens. And then next time when you begin to flatten the lower back onto the ground, you're beginning to exhale, bring the elbows towards each other so the space in the upper back broadens, and begin to curl your upper back away from the ground while pressing the lower back onto the ground. Slowly we'll do that just one more time. So as you move back onto the ground, slow the process down, open your elbows wide. As you arch the lower back away from the ground, see if in your upper back, again, you can find that movement of shoulder blades sliding towards each other. So the front body really puffs up towards the skies. And then again, the opposite movement of curling up. But let yourself really feel the broadness in the upper back, broadness in the lower back, and then the front body is contracting, exhaling as you curl. Slow release to the ground. Little bit of an arch, and this time when the elbows are going to start to come towards each other, when you start to curl up, start to bring your left knee to your chest and move your elbows to the outside of the left knee. So you're curling diagonally. Curl, curl, curl. Bringing the knee in, curling diagonally towards the outside of the knee, and then a slow release. So in somatics, we contract through the front, and then when we release the contraction, we do it really slowly. Foot comes down, elbows open, and we'll do just one more repetition of this diagonal. Little bit of an arch, lower back arching when you're on the ground, and then beginning to curl where the lower back flattens, knee comes to chest, left knee still, and you're curling your elbows to the outside of the left knee. So there's a little bit of a across the body, right shoulder towards the left hip movement, and a slow release. And then we'll do 2 repetitions of this diagonally across to the opposite, so the right knee coming in. So again, find your pace. Stay with the sensations of the movement. Try to feel where is the contraction, where is the lengthening. If there's a bit of shaking there, see if you can smooth it out. See if the movement can stay smooth and slow. Let yourself feel the parts where you're releasing the body weight back to the ground. We'll do just 2 repetitions on this diagonal. How slow can you move? And when you are done, don't rush it, just release the hands. Let them find a comfortable place and let the knees rest against each other for a moment. So again, everything can find their resting position. So you might feel your pelvis heavy. You might feel your upper back heavy, so that you are encouraging the softening, the trusting your weight to the ground. Giving it another breath in here. Maybe check your face, your eyes, your jaw. And then take your knees, they open again, they are more or less hip distance apart. We're going to take a gentle bridge pose in order to not so much about back bend, but to activate the back line of the body. So I keep my hands down on either side of the hips, and I really feel this action of pressing my heels and my feet down onto the ground as my hips begin to lift. And I try to feel feet pressing down, and I try to feel the back of my legs, my buttocks. I'm not necessarily squeezing them with force. It's more about this rooted action of my feet pressing down. You don't have to lift high. Take a breath. And then slowly release. And as you lower, keep pressing your heels onto the ground. Once you have your hip landing, just again soften everything. And then step your feet a little bit more away from your hips. So now your heels are no longer directly under your knees. They are a little bit further away towards the foot end of your mat. And then do the same thing. Press your heels into the ground, feet into the ground, and begin to lift. And you might feel it now more in the hamstrings, in the backs of the legs, and in the bum. Again, don't have to lift high. I want you to just feel that activation in the back body. Let yourself take a breath. And then slowly release. Keep pressing the heels onto the ground as you lower. If you felt this one quite a lot, then stay with your feet there. Otherwise, take another little step away. And you could keep the whole sole of the foot on the mat, or sometimes I actually press the heels down and I lift my feet off, so it's just the heels pressing down. You can experiment with both. If you start to feel cramping, which is not uncommon, hamstrings, often we think of them tight, but they are also, for many people, also weak, and they're not used to this action, so then do less. Step your feet back if you feel cramping. Again, I've find the action, I feel that, and then I lower. I take a moment where everything also finds their resting position as much as possible. And then we do one more, either keep the feet or maybe you walk them even a little bit so it's almost like my legs are almost straight. No, well, not quite, actually. Knees are still bent. And I'll try the one with heels pressing down rather than soles of the feet. Yeah. What can soften? Where's the ease in this as we connect to the back body activation in the back of the legs? slow lowering. And then when you're on the ground, just slide your legs straight for a moment. So we just connected also to this back line of the body, the back body strength. Just give it a breath in, give it a breath out. And then before we come up, I'll find fluidity once more, so a little bit of rocking movement. I slide my arms out from the shoulders, and I slide my right foot onto the mat, left leg stays straight, and I walk the right foot a little bit over to the right. I press the right foot down so that my right hip begins to lift, my pelvis begins to rotate and turn, but my right shoulder and arms stay heavy on the ground, and maybe the head rolls to the right. So there's a little ringing action here. I take a breath in, and then as I exhale, I slowly release the weight back into that right side of the body, into the right hip. And rock like this, come 3-4 more times, depending again on your pace. Experiment with height. And again, there's a little bit of that right foot pressing down onto the ground, so there might be a little bit of activation in that right buttock, and then the release of everything, the softening of everything. But mostly see how fluid can you be here, how fluid can you be in this movement of rocking, pouring your weight to the left, and then letting the weight pour back into the right side. See how it feels to go into the movement on the inhale, and then to return with an exhale. Next time when you have your hip back down, consider dropping the right knee out to the right and then sliding the foot back straight, the leg back straight, so it slides on that big toe side. Again, a little pause of taking in the effect of the movement, the feel on that right side. And then in your own time, repeat this for the left. So the left foot coming down and beginning to press the left foot onto the mat. Body weight rolls. Breath rises. And then there's a release. Prioritizing again the smoothness and the ease of the movement. Finish your next round. Sliding that left leg straight by dropping the left knee out to the left and then sliding it on the little toe side. Our last little moment here before we shift and transition. So on the back, set your arms somewhere where it's comfortable. How much of your body weight can you allow to drop for a moment? What is the feel of the whole body? Can you sense from the soles of the feet to the ground of the head? And then beginning to hug the knees to your chest. Possibly a little bit of rocking from side to side. Then picking a side to roll to one side, to curl up to your seat, and coming over to hands and knees. Take a few just spontaneous movements while you get there. Cat and cow, or some other ways how the spine can move. We'll bring our diagonals in a moment. Nice and fluid. And then I'll slide my right leg long. So we could first have the toes on the mat, feeling that, and then beginning to lift the right leg up. And then see how it feels to do the opposite hand forward. So I'm reaching the left hand forward, taking a breath. Now from here, I'm gonna bend the right knee so the right heel points up towards the ceiling, and I'm gonna bend the left elbow so I draw the arm back and lift the left elbow up towards the ceiling as well. I'll do a little bounce like we did in previous class, heel and elbow towards the ceiling. Then I straighten the leg back and the arm forward. And then I curl them in towards my center, rounding the back and hugging the forehead, elbow, knee towards each other. So let's do that just one more time. So they reach long. Then the elbow and the knee bends. The elbow you draw it back towards your waistline and then up towards the ceiling. Heel goes up as well. Little tiny bounce. Then you lengthen the heel so the knee straightens, arm goes forward, and then they hug in. Round the back as well. Curl, 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 curl. And then take the hand down and step the right toes onto the mat to the right of your left knee. Begin to move your bum back towards your left heel. So now the back body is broad. You're feeling it into that right hip as if you're doing like a half squat. Any amount, move the hips back, any amount. Take a breath in. Take a breath out. Beautiful. And then as you come forward with your shoulders, step the right foot forward to the top of the mat. Take a left hand under your shoulder. Draw the right hand up towards the ceiling. Feel the twist. And then circle the right hand down into the back space and then down to the outside of the right leg. Tuck the back toes under and lift the back knee off the ground. And then pivot the left heel onto the mat so you have your warrior two legs. See if you can bring your right elbow onto your right thigh. Press away from the ground and then lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. So you're in our side angle pose. Take a breath, keep maybe looking down rather than up. And then do a circle with the left arm. So reach it forward, feel the waistline. Circle it down towards the ground, towards the back of the mat, and then back up. Take a breath here. Next time when you circle the left arm forward and down, begin to lift the back heel so you can bring the left hand down and left knee back down onto the ground. See if we can fluidly try that one more time on this side. So you take the right arm forward and up. Some of you maybe want to even lift the back knee up already here. Give it a breath in. And then that transition where the right hand is going to circle back and down, come onto the ground. If your back knee is still down, lift it up and pivot so you have the heel coming down and the left hip opening. Slowly bringing your right elbow onto your right thigh. You might need to hug your right sit bone slightly more underneath you and the left arm is up. Take a breath. And then find the circle through the shoulder. Maybe move slower than you think you should so that you can really feel the action in the upper back. And then next time when it goes forward, see if you can synchronize that with the movement of the back heel lifting up. Both hands come down onto the mat. Pause for a moment. My back knee is up. I'm going to hug that right knee to my chest. So a little plank moment here. And then the right knee comes to the outside of the right hand. So you're in a pigeon shape. And you could stay here. You could take a pigeon pose. I like to hug the knees towards each other. for a moment, so there's more activation. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually drop my body weight over onto that right hip, and I'm going to bend into the left knee. So instead of pigeon, I'll come into it from this shape. So choose for yourself. I find this one just gives me a little bit more options to play with where I want to feel it. My knee prefers it, but feel free to have the back leg long and finding your stretch for that right buttock. So we're going to pause for about 3 or 4 breaths here. Whether that back leg is long or whether that back knee is bent. Find some softness in your jaw and in your shoulders. Let yourself find an inhale. And then see if you can stay with a full release of the breath, just really feeling that exhale, exhale, exhale. Letting that part be long and steady and calming. Give it one more round like that. Beautiful. And then whichever position you're in, you can walk your hands back to the front of the mat. If you bent your left knee, see if you can send it back towards the back of the mat so we can arrive to our very first downward facing dog. If you wish to skip down dog and keep your knees on the mat, definitely welcome to do that. So some cat and cow movement from all fours welcomed. So I'll have a little transition moment here where you can have little wiggles or be more still. Give it another couple of breaths. And then we'll meet with the knees on the ground, hands under the shoulders. We take the left leg long, lifting the left leg up. Experimenting now this strength in this diagonal of sending the right leg forward and right arm forward. Experimenting little wobbles. Beginning to bend the left knee and beginning to draw the right elbow towards your waistline and up towards the ceiling. Maybe a little bounce to really, that helps you to feel that back body engagement. Reaching the leg long, leg back, arm forward, breath in, and then a squeezing as you draw the knee and arm and nose towards each other. Also really round the back, round the back. We'll do just one more repetition, but slowly enough so that you can feel this diagonal lengthening away. They stay lifted, but the limbs bend. Then there's a little bit of tiny bounce. There's a lengthening and reaching. And then there's one more time curling in. As I'm curled in, I place my right hand onto the mat and I step the left toes to the left of the right knee. I send my bum backward, still reaching forward through the fingertips, feeling the back body space, perhaps feeling the hip on that left side. Breath in, soften jaw. And then as you start to come forward, step the left foot to the left side of the mat. We'll take that really slow flow now. So right hand grounds. I forgot to say you could have your hand on a block as well. So as we take the left arm up, we're going to pause in the twist, feeling this rotation, the upper back, the middle back, the lower back, the front of the body. And then begin to circle the arm back. Chest turns back down towards the ground. Back toes tuck. Knee lifts. And you pivot on that back foot so that heel comes onto the ground. left elbow, left forearm can come onto that left thigh. There's a little bit of an action of drawing that left hip underneath you, left sit bone underneath you, as we find the side angle pose. So right arm up, strong legs, press down the feet, maybe looking down. Remember how we were pressing the heel and the foot down in the bridge pose? Do that here, especially in that front foot, and try to feel the back of that left leg. Then circle the right arm forward. Let it make a circle down, circling back and up. And then next time when it moves forward, begin to lift the back heel at the same time. So it's a really controlled movement of leveling your pelvis, bringing the hand down. Some of you might keep the back knee up for the second round, and some of you might have a moment of bringing that back knee down to do the twist with that back knee support when the left hand goes up. Again, slow circle when the hand goes back. Right hip opens, left forearm supported by the onto that left thigh. Side angle pose for a moment. Circle the arm forward, feel that waistline. Are you reaching from the fingers and the foot, or are you reaching from your center? Is there a difference? As it circles down, let your upper body curl down. Let it make a full circle for one round. And then next time when it comes forward, how controlled can you make this movement when you turn your torso, your hip, it pivots down. So the hand comes down, keep that back knee up so that we can have a little strength moment in plank with the left thigh to chest. And then left knee behind the left wrist. So your version of hip opener, stay in the pigeon, or begin to roll your body weight a little bit over so that you can sit onto that left hip. So then you have a little bit more choice where you place that left foot, where you place that right knee, whether you stay palms down, whether you come forearms down. You can choose the orientation of your torso. So play around a little bit. So you find a sensation in that left hip buttock that is not overwhelming. And then connect to your kind of the breath as if it moves downward all the way into your pelvis and creates some space. See if the shoulders can relax a little bit more. What else can soften? Let yourself stay for another couple of breaths. Beautiful, and same exit as on the previous round. So we'll still find the top of the mat with the hands, like downward facing dog hands, and your choice as you send your right leg back is to step to down dog or step to all fours, take a child's pose, or some wiggles, some shapes of your own choice. We'll come and transition for one back bend. So it could be that you come from all fours or from a plank pose, so that we can lower down onto the ground, softening the knees. And then either finding cobra, finding sphinx pose, just take a little moment, feel into your back, find the height that works, and spend a couple of breaths, not just one breath flow, couple of breaths feeling into the back body. What changes if you press your feet a little bit more onto the ground, or your pubic bone a little bit more onto the ground? Maybe you let your shoulders move a little bit. The back bend shape is contracting the back body and opening and broadening the front body. So how do you feel that broadness? And making sure that that contraction is not a painful one. So breathe into the shape, maybe 1 or 2 more rounds. Perfect. And then slowly, let's return all the way onto the ground. So you could make a little pillow out of your hands under the forehead. Have a little wiggle through the hips. And then slide your right knee up so you stay on the belly. The right knee slides up. Press your right hand down onto the ground and slide your left hand underneath. So you just kind of balancing on your left shoulder, head comes onto the ground. And then make a circle with your right hand up above and begin to open it out to the right into this twist. Right knee can lift off the ground however much it wants. You find the twist. You breathe into the shape. Nice, long, steady breath in. Slow, steady exhale out. One more. And if your right arm has been straight out from the shoulder, experiment in bringing it a little bit higher up at a diagonal so it's more towards your ear. If your our right knee has been bent, but you could slide, if you have the space, you could slide the right leg straight-ish. So it's a little bit like that human X like we were doing in the beginning. Give it a breath, and then see if you can slide the right leg back towards the back of the mat and curl back over onto your belly. And then for the opposite side, we need to bend the left knee. You press your left hand a little bit up, down onto the ground so you can lift the chest and slide the left hand underneath. You take a circle around the body with the left hand, and that's going to start to curl your chest open. It's going to lift the left knee off the mat, and that's fine. And you find a twist that again feels good. So not overdoing it. If you need to put some support under that left knee, and then breathe into the shape. Into your midsection, let the breath move into the side ribs. Can you find the back of the lungs with your breath? And then if you wish on this side again, we could play with bringing the arm not straight out from the shoulder, but a little bit on that upper diagonal, so it comes a little bit higher up. And if you have the space to extend the leg, you could extend the leg. So not straight forward, but slightly downward perhaps, so you have again that little bit of a X shape happening. You breathe in. And then you let the arm and the leg movement roll you back onto your belly for just a moment. Have a little wiggle through the hips on the belly. And then if the belly position is comfortable, maybe you stay with your Shavasana here, or you take a little roll over onto your back. If you want to finish in seated meditation, you could do that. If you're on your back and the body wants some other movements, maybe hugging the knees in or shaking the arms and the legs out. So I'll hold space for a couple of minutes here. So just see if you have time for longer relaxation, or your practice, you want to have a longer practice, feel free to silence me. Otherwise, finding some stillness, finding some comfort, lying down or seated. So we can have a moment of really feeling maybe still the practice kind of moving and sizzling through the tissues, and then there can be a certain settling and integration time. Let your awareness sense the ground underneath, whichever position you're in. And see again if in this space right now we can give as much of our body weight to gravity as possible. So we feel that there's a support, a wider body that is holding the weight of our body. Really giving space for whatever is arising, whether it is sounds that are coming from your environment or sensations arising internally. Feeling that that inner space has a lot of depth. Our awareness has this capacity to hold what's arising. Maybe there's even for a moment this sense of broadening and expanding, so that our sense of self is not bound by the boundaries of the body. You're sensing the space to the right of you and left of you, the space to the front and back, above and below. And as you hear my voice coming back in, you can stay as you are if you know that this was the time you had. See how kind can you make your transition, how slow can the transition be. In seated, one more moment to pause, to check in, to tune in, to notice what's most in the foreground right now. Maybe you set an intention for the rest of your day. Maybe there's a gesture that you want to bring in as a seal to this practice. Thank you so much for being here.